What's going on, everybody? TJ here from TJ's Take. I'm going to break down this NFL Week 3 slate for you. Um, if you're not familiar with how the NFL slates works, if you're new to NFL DFS, um, we have the 1 o'clock main slate. That'll include all the 1 o'clock games, then all the 4 o'clock games, and then tomorrow night I'll do a podcast for the Sunday night football game, the late game. Um, there's 1 p.m. onlys, so that's just the 1 p.m. games. Obviously, there's like 4:20, 4:25 only, and that'll include all the later afternoon games. Um, I'll kind of talk. I'll go a game by game breakdown. Talk about who's good cash plays, who's good tournament plays. Talk about stacking, game stacking, and how it's essential to building successful lineups. Jump into a few things here first. Baseball is still going. We're going very strong. Been making a lot of money ever since all these top names, they spend a ton of time researching. Football is their go-to. They do things like I do. They try and get their content out to other people. So they're studying football hardcore. So I take that time to really dig into baseball while they're all doing that. And it's almost like hedging football a little bit. It's or fading football. I'm sorry, not hedging, and kind of going with baseball and building my account so I can play plenty of football and kind of get my football research in toward Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and hopefully those 3 days are enough with a good enough bankroll to play on Sundays. So let's just jump right into the game by game breakdown here. Oh, it wants to pop up. So first game we have Cincinnati visiting Buffalo. The Bills are favored by 6. Have an over-under of 44. Love the Bills in this game, even with the spread. I think the Bills will win this game by 2 scores at least. When it comes to this, this is not a game stack. For example, Cincinnati, there's the only people I want to play on Cincinnati that would be a little sneaky for tournaments would be these receivers, John Ross, Tyler Boyd, and then a guy you could play, say, in like the $1 million, like the $9 $1 million top prize, where there's 350,000 people. You could try like Tyler Eifert. Tyler Eifert's a guy who can definitely score 2 touchdowns. A sneaky tight end to get away from those top guys. Tight end's going to be pretty chalky this week. Mark Andrews, Zach Ertz, Travis Kelce, those guys will be pretty chalky this week. So a guy like Tyler Eifert could win you a tournament if he catches 2 touchdowns. But that's the only direction I'm going with the Bengals. The Bills, I love the Bills in tournaments here. I love Josh Allen. I loved him last week. He scored 19 points in the first half. Only ended with 22, but I don't know what happened there. But he's ran a touchdown in every game. He should be able to attack this Cincinnati defense at home with ease. Excuse me. Frank Gore. Frank Gore right now is more of a cash play for me. I've done a good amount of research so far, but tomorrow in the articles, that's when kind of everything's set in stone for me. So when the articles come out, those are my clear-cut picks. That's when I know more about projections, because everybody in the industry will know more about projections that day. That's when more lineups get filled out. That's when news comes out, and so everything's kind of laying out perfectly for us. So right now, I think Frank Gore's a good cash game play. I'm sure you can play him in tournaments, but I think you can go with other guys who could definitely score more or get around his or get as many points of him as him around that same price tag to fade him and separate yourself from the field. So that's where I'm going to put Frank Gore right now with Singletary out hurt, if you didn't know that. John Brown, they need to raise his price. I actually wanted them to raise his price a little bit so we would be a little lower owned. We'll wait and see tomorrow. I think he might be a little bit of a popular option tomorrow at 5,900. The guy is just a beast. Buffalo finally went away from getting those big jump ball receivers and are finally getting the quick, shifty guys who can get the ball downfield quick. They play fast. Helps Josh Allen run the ball. Love Buffalo in tournaments. Love Josh Allen. My start with a stack for that would be Josh Allen, John Brown, and then in huge tournaments you can try a Cole Beasley or a Zay Jones. But I would stick with just those two. It's not even really a stack. I like those two guys. And you kind of stack around them with a team like Dallas, which we're going to get to in a second. Not in tournaments, in cash if you wanted to. So we have Miami at Dallas. The Cowboys are 22-point favorites. I don't even know if that's enough. I mean, these guys Josh Rosen's getting the start this week. I don't think they're doing him justice by doing that. They're throwing that boy to the Wolves. And I am not going to play anybody on the Dolphins. Not a chance at all. I play any of these guys. Just don't even put them on your radar. I mean, people will say, what about those huge tournaments? You'll be super different. You'll get them all for 0.4% owned. It's not going to work against the Cowboys defense in Jerry World. It's not going to happen. Dallas Cowboys are your cash game best friend. And Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, Randall Cobb, Devin Smith. And I'll kind of jump to this right now. If you think you're being sneaky by going and getting Randall Cobb, you are not. If you want to try and be sneaky, go get Devin Smith. He is $100 cheaper. Randall Cobb will probably be higher owned than Amari Cooper, I'm thinking. Amari Cooper is actually, I kind of like him for tournaments because I think people might brush over him a little bit, that he is the number one target. Again, I'll know more tomorrow, but I think people might glance right over him. So, I mean, obviously you can stack these Cowboys. Cowboys defense is just a lock in cash games. Just go ahead and plug them in. They're the same price as the Patriots defense. I like the Patriots defense for tournaments. Way to be different from the Cowboys. I don't see that many people going there. I also like the Packers. We'll get there when we bring up all these teams, but my favorite stack for cash games would be Dak, Zeke, Randall Cobb, and the defense. For tournaments, it'd be, I think you can go without Dak. I think you can easily get another quarterback like a Josh Allen for cheaper and just go ahead and build with these skill positions. I think Zeke, the thing about tournaments, it's not like baseball where Mike Trout can go out and have a 0 one day and, a guy like Yu Chang or something can outscore him by 30 points because Yu Chang has a good day. This is football, so, unless, God forbid, Zeke gets hurt or something, he's gonna score more points than a lot of these backs against the Dolphins. They just came out and said he's gonna get a full workload. So you don't even have to get too cute with tournaments. If you think he's gonna be the top scorer of the day, you can just plug him in whatever lineup you want, no matter what kind it is. I think this is a spot for Zeke where you can plug him in any lineup you want. So Zeke, Amari Cooper, Devin Smith are my favorite tournament options. And that's one thing I wanted to bring up is just because Dallas has the best matchup on this slate does not mean you have to completely fade them in tournaments. That just means you have to go a little bit deeper into their team, I guess. Go a little deeper into their wide receiving core. Can't really go too much deeper into the running backs when it comes to Dallas just because Pollard doesn't get too many touches. But, try a Jason Witten, try a Devin Smith. Michael Gallup's out, so Devin Smith is one of my favorite tournament options. But you don't have to completely fade the Cowboys in tournaments. Next game, Denver visiting Green Bay. Packers are 7-point favorites. Love the Packers in this game. Well, I don't. I love them from a DFS perspective. I hope they get blown out, but that's not going to happen. I think it should be 10. I don't think this Denver team's very good. The defense doesn't look like it used to be. This is a sneaky tournament team stack. Anytime you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers and they're going against a team like Denver, nobody's going to play Aaron Rodgers with all these other great spots that these guys have on the board. Aaron Rodgers could go super low owned, and he could throw 2 touchdown passes to Devontae Adams and 1 to Valdez-Scantling, and I think he could be one of the top scoring quarterbacks on this slate. A very sneaky one too. I don't even mind a Green Bay stack. I would probably stick with just a Rodgers, Adams, Packers. I think that's different enough because I don't think anybody's playing the Packers anyways. So just pick the 3 best. Yeah, I mentioned the Packers defense. I think they're a fade from New England, and they're my favorite fade from New England and the Cowboys. I think they're $500 cheaper too on the defensive end. So I like that play. On the Denver side, I could play Philip Lindsay. That's about it. Don't even worry about going there. Definitely don't play their defense. Not going to go there at all. I like the Green Bay side for tournaments. And now we get into one of my sneaky favorite game stacks. So a game stack is just both teams, and game stacking can be essential to taking down one of those huge tournaments. I mean, if you have a shootout in one of these games, a 41 to 35 game or something like that, you're going to be up there in GPPs for sure if you have exposure to both of these teams. You think you can play either quarterback. Matt Ryan's obviously who I look to more. If Marlon Mack is healthy, I am not a guy who plays Marlon Mack a lot on DFS at all, but when you're playing the Falcons, last year they gave up the most points to running backs who catch the ball out of the backfield. I think Marlon Mack can put up some good numbers against them. So guys who I would have exposure to in this game if you're going to do the game stack, I like Matt Ryan. Devontae Freeman has not looked good so far, but he has played against tough teams. He's going to have a breakout game here soon. He's not terribly old yet. He's still Devontae Freeman. There's still a little bit of Devontae Freeman in there somewhere. I think this could be the game where we see him again. Obviously, Julio's always in play. Calvin Ridley, one of my favorite wide receivers of the day tomorrow. Austin Hooper is in play. Jacoby Brissett, Marlon Mack, T.Y. Hilton. I'm not going to go Eric Ebron or Jack Doyle in this one, but I like those 3 guys on the other end. So if I were to start building a team, I would go Matt Ryan, pick one of the backs, not both, just because I think you could get up to a Zeke or a Dalvin Cook, or even Marlon Mack is the same price as David Johnson, I believe, on the Cardinals. So maybe go Freeman here. He is 6,200. Let's say go Freeman here. So I'll have Matt Ryan, Devontae Freeman, and then I can go. I guess you could put Mack in a flex spot if you needed to. But then I can put T.Y. Hilton in there. And then, yeah, we'll put Mack in a flex spot, and then we'll fill it out with Calvin Ridley. Obviously not going to go either defenses here if we're playing weapons on the offensive end. Colts are favored by 1 in this game. I absolutely love the Falcons. Over under 47. Love the over there. Yeah, that's pretty much it on that one. Now the game everybody's talking about, which we have kind of some bad news on. Baltimore at Kansas City. Kansas City is 5-point favorites. I don't think that's high enough, but with bad weather, who knows what's going to happen. Baltimore played 2 bad teams so far. Cardinals could have won that game against them. Sure, Lamar Jackson's playing great. I think you can play Lamar Jackson. I think that's fine. I love the Chiefs in this game. Over-under is 52. I would have loved the over, but there's supposed to be a lot of rain. It's supposed to be a gross game. So that's kind of a bummer. Ruins what could be a really, really good game just because the Chiefs' defense isn't that great. On the Baltimore side, can obviously go with Lamar Jackson. I probably won't tomorrow, but can definitely play him. Not going to go with either of their running backs. I could go Mark Andrews, and that's pretty much it. I don't love the Baltimore side. I don't love this as a game stack because I think too many people are going to do it. I could go Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews. I hope that questionable tag on Mark Andrews steers some people away, but it probably won't. His price, I wish they would have raised his price a little bit to get a little closer to Kelsey, because 6,800 isn't enough to get people off of him. Patrick Mahomes, you can play him every day, but with this weather, I just don't know what's going to happen. I think when I know more about ownership tomorrow, he'll be in the articles, and obviously if he's low owned, I want to play him. I want to play him a lot. And another sneaky thing, when it comes, I'm not going to play running backs on either side, but when it comes to these wide receivers on the Chiefs, I think people look over Sammy Watkins here, and a lot of people go Demarcus Robinson. And I think Demarcus Robinson will be the highest owned, and then Hardman, and then Watkins, actually. Obviously, I'm not including Kelsey in this, and I think Kelsey could go lower owned as well, since Mark Andrews is at that 6,800, and you have to pay 1,200 more to get up to Kelsey. So I kind of like Kelsey here in cash and tournaments. But I'm going to fade Demarcus Robinson in this one. He's 6,700. That's a huge price jump. And McCole Hardman, he could have had a he had a good game, but he could have had a huge game. He had a touchdown get called back in that one. I think Sammy Watkins goes way overlooked here. He's probably my favorite play in this game for tournaments. Not going to play either defense, obviously. But yeah, that's as sneaky as it gets for me. I don't like Demarcus Robinson this week, strictly from an ownership perspective. But if I were to go a Kansas City stack, it'd be Mahomes, Kelsey, and Watkins, and just keep it super simple. I mean, it sounds bland, but I think it's going to be contrarian to everybody else's Chiefs builds. Sorry, I got a bit of a tickle in my throat. Very frustrating. We've got Oakland in Minnesota. I almost said the Twins. The Vikings are 9-point favorites, 43.5 total. Don't like this game at all. I like Dalvin Cook, and that is it. I don't even know what to do with this spread. I think it's going to be under 43.5. I think Josh Jacobs could be a sneaky play, actually. So I think Josh Jacobs in big tournaments is definitely an option. Just because Minnesota, when people see Minnesota, they think run stoppers. But they haven't been good at stopping the run at all yet this year. So Josh Jacobs, one really good game, one okay game. I think I'll take a shot at him in one of my lineups going for the million. I think he's interesting at $6,500. Dalvin Cook, I think he's going to get a little bit lower ownership tomorrow, even after 2 insane games, just because you have Zeke up there taking on the Dolphins. And it's unlikely. And McCaffrey against the Cardinals, too. So, I mean, I think Dalvin Cook falls into the third option for those guys when you're picking a top-tier back this week. So, really like Dalvin Cook. Kirk Cousins is complete garbage. I will never play him ever in DFS. I don't care if he's playing the Dolphins. I will never play that guy. Yep, that's all I got for that one. Next game, Jets at New England. Wow. New England's favored by 21. 3 touchdowns. The Jets. So everybody keeps saying that, or everybody in the Jets organization, I guess, keeps saying this Luke Falk knows the defense better than everyone, like anybody on their team. And I mean, if knowing the defense, this is what I got from the game, what was it, Monday? If knowing the defense is snapping the ball and holding it in the pocket until you get sacked, then he knows the defense amazing. He knows it better than anybody. But call me crazy, but I don't think that is what their offense is supposed to do. So I don't think he's a very good player. Sure, he might know the offense, but he's not Gardner Minshew. Actually, I think he went to Washington State too, same as Gardner Minshew, but he's not Gardner Minshew. He's not going to step in and have an impact. He had a chance, did absolutely nothing. The only person I would play on the Jets side, I guess I could go to Le'Veon just because he's Le'Veon, but I think New England keys on him. I'm probably not going to play him. And Robbie Anderson was the only guy Luke Falk was throwing to, and he has big playability. Um, I mean, if New England has a lax defensive play, then maybe. So that's like a huge tournament play as well. But other than that, not going with anybody on the Jets. New England, I hope, will be lower owned than I think they will be. I think everybody will go to that Kansas City Baltimore game and to the Cowboys. So I hope I can get a really good New England stack with Tom. If you've been living under a rock, Antonio Brown is no longer on the team. I can go Tom. James White is one of my favorite plays. Can run, can catch. I think he's going to get a couple touchdowns this game. Julian Edelman, Josh Gordon. I love all those guys. I think I can play Tom Brady, James White, Edelman, and Gordon. I think I can play them all and might be successful. This is also really good. I like this for cash as well. If you want to get away from the Cowboys, say those Cowboys are all like 70 to 80% owned, and somehow they just don't do as well as you thought they might. Going the New England way, you can get off of maybe 30%, 40%. And not saying they're going to be the lowest owned number, but in cash games, definitely like it. Another thing you can do with New England is you don't have to plug Tom Brady in. You can go get a Josh Allen or somebody and still play James White, a couple of these receivers. Sony Michel is probably my least favorite in this one. I think the Patriots will go through the air here for the most part until the end of the game when they're blowing them out. But yeah, that's what I like from the Patriots side. That's a pretty simple one. Over under 43, it's hard to call because the Patriots could score 43 on their own, and I don't think the Jets will score. Oh, Patriots defense. Include them in the stack. Love the defense for tournaments. Love them for cash games. Love the defense. Next game, Detroit at Philly. This is the biggest question mark I have. I don't know what's going on here. Wentz is sitting there at 7,700, and when Wentz is sitting at 7,700, right in the middle of the pack with all the other quarterbacks, I want to play him so bad, but he just doesn't look like the Carson Wentz that I thought could win MVP year in, year out before he tore his ACL. So I think I could take a shot on Carson Wentz in those huge tournaments and pair him with Aguilar and Ertz. Mac Hollins, 4,500. I thought they might raise his price. Yeah, they went to him quite a bit. So I like Mac Hollins here. I didn't even notice that before when I was going through the first time. Mac Hollins, wide receiver for Philly. Philly's favored by 5 in this one, by the way. I don't know which way this one's going to go. This is the biggest toss-up to me. I don't think the Lions are that bad. Well, let's go to the Lions. On their side, I don't think I'm going to play anybody. TJ Hawkinson, maybe. But until I see what they're really about, what kind of team they are, I just don't think they really have an identity right now. I don't know if they're like good at defense, if they're not good at defense. I don't know if they're going through the air as much as they. I mean, it seems like they're still just attacking through the air, but I don't know. We'll see with the Lions. From a DFS perspective, just can't go there yet. Next game. I like this one as a game stack as well. Definitely could be a sneaky one on the Carolina side. You got Carolina at Arizona. The Cardinals are 2-point favorites. Kyle Allen, QB1 tomorrow for the Panthers. He's at $6,000. Love him for tournaments. He'll allow you to get all the top skill guys you want. And I think you can pair him with Christian McCaffrey. All the guy has to do is dump the ball to Christian McCaffrey. He's going to get points. I mean, this is going to be all offense. Arizona passes the ball 73% of the time. They are fast. I think they could score 3 touchdowns in this game. I love the over in this one, by the way, 45. I think the Panthers can keep up with them a little bit with McCaffrey. And Kyle Allen is not a bad quarterback, I don't think. And Arizona, terrible against tight ends. Greg Olsen, Very, very sneaky play at tight end and has a questionable tag on him. Doesn't even have to be a huge tournament. Play him in anything, any kind of tournament, any kind of single entry. Love Greg Olson tomorrow. So yeah, if I were to do a game stack, I could go Kyle Allen, Christian McCaffrey, Greg Olson. Uh, I'll wait on DJ Moore for a second while I'm doing this, but Kyle Allen does like to throw to DJ Moore. But right now I'll go Kyle Allen, Christian McCaffrey, Greg Olson, David Johnson, and Larry Fitzgerald. And I really, really like that build right there. I think that's a good base, and it's cheap enough where you can get great players to fill in the rest of those spots. You can go get a Cowboys or New England or Green Bay defense, and then you could still get a Zeke. You could go get you can go get a lot of the whatever guys you want, and I think that makes for a really, really good tournament lineup. Um, I like Kyle Allen over Kyler just because he can dish it off to McCaffrey, and he's $1,200 cheaper. Um, really like this as a game stack. Trying to think. Damiere Byrd, look out for him. He's only $5,000. Christian Kirk, obviously. David Johnson, obviously, sitting there at $7,000. I'm really curious to know what his ownership's going to be like. We got 4 games left here. Next one is Giants at Tampa Bay. The Bucks are favored by 6. I don't know what to do with this one. I can play Saquon on the Giants. That is it. Maybe Evan Ingram in huge tournaments at that tight end spot. A lot of weird tight end. Tight end's going to be a tough position for DFS this year. That's it. That's all I have to say about the Giants side. Tampa Bay side, I kind of like some of their players as like little fill-in spots. Chris Godwin sitting at 7,600. I think he's the receiver that in that range you have a lot of other big names, and I think he goes overlooked. And I think he can outscore those guys against the Giants. So I love Godwin as a play. Jameis and him were connecting a lot better last week. They should be rested. They had a long week, right? Yeah, I think so. So Peyton Barber is another plug-in, 6,100 at running back. Everybody thought it was going to be Ronald Jones. Pretty sure it was a Thursday night game. Everybody thought it was going to be Ronald Jones getting the touches. It was Peyton Barber. He got like 23 touches or something, and he caught a couple balls. So I love Peyton Barber. Mike Evans will go overlooked. A great tournament play. I like those guys, not necessarily as a stack, but as some fill-ins. Next game, we've got Houston at the Chargers. Chargers are 3-point favorite, which is crazy. I understand they're at home, but I love Houston +3. Over under 48.5. Love the over. Deshaun Watson he has not played the Chargers yet, but he has destroyed this division. Has great numbers against them. We'll see if that has anything to do with, let's see if that even goes over, that carries over to a game against the Chargers. We don't know, but Chargers not a bad defense. But Deshaun Watson is just waiting to break out here. DeAndre Hopkins, they didn't have a great game last week. Who did they play? The Jags, obviously very tough. Jalen Ramsey covering you all game. I think DeAndre Hopkins bounces back. I hope people stay off of him because he didn't have a great performance. Will Fuller at some point is going to catch a deep ball or two for a touchdown, and like we've seen it every season he's been in the league, he will get 20-point games. He'll get a few of them a season. I think this is a good spot for it. Those are the only 3 guys I think I can play on Houston, but I love to play them. I love a Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins 2-man stack. Expensive, but like I said, all those other guys, all those other fill-ins we mentioned, I think it's definitely easy to get there. On this Chargers side, love Austin Eckler, love Keenan Allen, and could try Phil Rivers in huge tournaments. I don't like it though. I think there's too many better quarterbacks who can use their legs as well. And going against the Houston defense, I thought I liked this as a game stack when I first looked at it, but now I just don't really. Yeah, Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins are my favorites here, and I really like Keenan Allen. You can play Keenan Allen any week you want against whoever you want. Just a very consistent player. Philip Rivers' favorite target, obviously. We can move on from that one. Got a couple boring ones to finish up with. Anyways, we have the Saints visiting the Seahawks, which would can't even talk. Which would usually be a very exciting game. Is not going to be a very exciting game with Teddy Bridgewater and the Seahawks focusing on Kamara the whole game, so I don't see him doing much. But that being said, everybody probably thinks that way. Kamara, another great big tournament play, because you know he can go out there and get you 20 to 30. But I just don't see it this game. But hey, that's how you win big tournaments, plugging those guys in when you against unfavorable matchups. On Seattle's side, DK Metcalf, I guess. My favorite play in this whole game might be the Seahawks defense, because they're $3,400 against a backup QB and a backup QB going on the road. So Seahawks defense will be a very sneaky play. Seahawks are favored by 5 in that one. I like the Seahawks. 45, I like the under. Really like the under. Last game, Pittsburgh Steelers visiting the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers are 6.5 favorites. No idea what's going to happen in this game. Don't know if Mason Rudolph is good or not. Looks like he can use his legs. I think James Conner can have a good game here. I think he's playable. I think that's it on that team. That's the only person I'm willing to play. Mason Rudolph, I might take a shot on him if we didn't have Kyle Allen, if Brissett wasn't still cheap, if we didn't have these guys that are super, super cheap. On San Francisco's side, George Kittle will probably go, just because he hasn't had the greatest games those first couple of weeks. I think he'll go really low owned, and George Kittle is George Kittle. He could have a 2-touchdown game very easily. Garoppolo's kind of in the same boat for me at that price tag. I just think they're better quarterbacks that'll definitely score more points. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for that game. You can try Garoppolo in tournaments. You can try Breda in tournaments. But yeah, a lot of the good games were a lot earlier on that I already mentioned. That's pretty much it for the game-by-game breakdown. Stick around and make sure you read those articles tomorrow before you finalize your lineups, before the games start, just because that's when everything will be set in stone for me. All of the players that I really like. We hit on a lot of them last week. We had the Sony Michel play. We had a lot of plays that really hit, a lot of touchdowns that scored. We did a really good job. So make sure you pay attention to those articles and the GPP plays. And other than that, focus up, win some money, and send me some screenshots if you do. If you have any questions, go on. You can ask me on Twitter. You can comment on the site. Have a good one.